Rick Bartholomew, CEO of Helpside. The main function is to understand the overriding objective of the organization. Where are we trying to get? Where are we at? And bringing a team of contributors together to make that happen. Most of it I can't do. I'll sit in a meeting and truthfully, on technology, I'm not going to be the smartest technological mind in the room. If we're dealing with payroll processing, I have people way more insightful there. But understanding who our customers are, what is the value proposition that we're striving to bring to them, and how do we work together as a team to do that? And then getting obstacles out of the way for that team. There's some things that I think only the senior leader is capable of taking on. And so being up for the job when it seems like nobody else can get something out of the way, then I can make that happen within my capacity. Probably three things first come to my mind. The very, very first thing really is the people. Having been here as long as I have a team of individuals I've worked with for a long time. Across that team, some of them are decades, some of them are shorter period, but quality people that I trust, and I'm proud to be part of a journey with them. The second thing is thinking about the influence we have on the small business community. We love our clients. I love my future clients I've not met. We really think we can make a difference. We don't do, you're going to laugh at me, we don't do the sexiest things. We're dealing with payroll processing, tax deposits, benefit management and sponsoring, risk management, HR, compliance to a large degree, often dealing with the problems that come in those spaces. It's not the thing most people wake up excited about. I'm going to start a business because I get confronted with all of that. We do that. I get excited about it because we help other people with what they really don't have time for, didn't start their business around that, and we help them succeed. So I get excited about helping other businesses succeed. So first, I love my team. I love who we serve. And then I have a lot of satisfaction and pride in the organization we've been. When you start, it's all about building reputation. At this point, we have reputation, and I'm proud of that. As you talk to our clients, you can talk to our competitors. And they may not like to compete with us, which is the way I prefer to keep it, but they respect competing with us. They know that we'll put our best foot forward and that our clients are going to be incredibly satisfied with what we deliver to them. So I'm proud of that. Now it's about reputation maintenance and expanding our influence geographically and across more clientele. So people, the clients, and then I just take great pride in our company. It's something I've had a chance to be part of building, and I find that to be very satisfying. That goes contrary to the planning and thoughtfulness. Opportunity and short-sightedness got me here. That's not what kept me here. So I just finished up my bachelor's degree at Brigham Young University. That journey was one of a lot of what college should be about, trying to figure out who you are and what influence and difference do you want to make in the world. I started there thinking business was what my passion would be. Took Econ 110 as a freshman straight out of high school and thought, I am not made for business because I do not know what we talked about all semester. And I got a D+. It was ugly. So after a 2-year stint as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Argentina, came home, reevaluated, and what I learned in that 2-year period is that people fascinated me, and started to think, what makes people tick, especially I was always interested in high achievement as opposed to struggling to achieve. And so I ended up studying psychology. I loved classes like organizational behavior, social psychology, learning and motivation. Those were the things that resonated with me. But by the end of my time there, I'm like, I'm going back to business. I'm not going to be a very good counselor. And I knew I wanted to get an MBA. So I was really just looking for what could I do to pad a resume so that I don't have an MBA and no experience. And Helpside was hiring in a space of workers' compensation management. I knew nothing about it. I applied. They offered me hardly any money, but I thought it'll look way better than the jobs I had going through college. I had an opportunity to do an executive MBA at the University of Utah, so pivoted that way, and I thought, okay, great. A couple of years doing my MBA at night. I'll get some office experience during the day. I got to work with people that I really respected, most importantly, my father, who was one of the founders of the company, and I thought I'd learn and grow from him. And then I'd be off to who knows what mountain to climb. What I didn't know is as a young company, because I came in 94, so a 4-year-old company, it was perfect timing. As I was going through that educational experience, and I'd go to class at night with real problems on my mind, going, how do you take a young company? And I had the ear of one of the founders, and he'd willing to share with me what they were concerned about, sales and market expansion, product development. And I'm working all this at night. I fell in love with the business and the problems, and then snuck my way in and said, you know what, I think there's a lot here. Along with my brother John, what do you think about trusting us a little bit? And so I truly came in thinking 3-year stint and I'm gone. Next thing I know, I'm here for 32 years. So you got to kind of be careful at Helpside. You might get sucked in for a while. The two founders, I mentioned my father, Larry Bartholomew, and his partner, BJ Wright, a lady out of Midway, Utah. There's probably two main things I see that are inspirational in starting a business. One is you have a vision of making a difference, disrupting maybe, doing something better than it's been done, or a new idea. The second is the desperation to create a financial journey for your family. So I think they were motivated by two things. They'd been introduced in this industry as it was very young, the late 80s, both in a sales role. Larry is a sales leader, BJ is a top sales producer, and saw the potential and the ability to impact clients. They were in an organization that at the end of the day, they didn't have confidence in where it was going and how it was approaching that, thought they could do it. So first, we can do this much better. We can serve our clients in a more significant way. It's going to be risky, which is a part of starting every new business, but if the risk pays off, this could be big for our families as well. And so I think with both of those things, they jumped in. BJ, one of the greatest sales forces I've ever met. Truly putting on her own shoulders the effort of getting a new business off the ground and growing the clientele. My dad, I get some of his OCD. He's the cross the T, dot the I guy, making sure, okay, we're going to cover our bills. We're not going to wonder where the money's at. We're going to be able to deliver on all of her promises. Yeah, you find that in an organization. You need a solid sales engine, but it also has to be able, you have to have the team that can deliver and to be able to marry those two things together. So they came together. I love this data point. They shared with me early on as they started, their vision was, you know what, if we could get to where we were processing $1 million a month in payroll, we will really have accomplished something. That would be it. I think within 6 months, they were at $500,000, and they realized that goal was way too low early on. I think when I came in 94, the trajectory they had early on was that they from 6 months to a year, they doubled. And then from that, they doubled, and they were doubling on an annual basis for those early years, and kind of set a really good trajectory for the company as I came in and got involved in helping them grow the company. That would have been in the fall of '97 that John and I, we observed where the company was at. They were carrying a lot of load, Larry and BJ, and it needed some additional direction. It was going into my last year of MBA studies at the University of Utah, and this is not the normal way I think you advance in an organization. Maybe it is. It's the only way I know. He and I talked. I brought him in my office, and being a brother, he's 18 months younger than me, but he started in the company before me and very interested in accounting. I wanted to be sensitive to what his dreams and aspirations were, so I think it went something like this. So what is it you think you'd like to do? You think CFO, or what's on your mind? He says, yeah, I think I'd love to be the CFO of the organization someday. I said, perfect, I want to be the CEO. Since he didn't want that role, I just wanted to clear first, that's not what you want? Great, I think that's exactly what I would like to do. So then we just needed to come up with a game plan to approach the two owners and sell them on why that would be in their best interest. And so we came up with a strategy, invited them to a meeting, which is a little scary. We'd like to meet with you, and laid our proposal out. And they said, well, like anybody, we need to think about it. And to our surprise, they came back and said, yeah, we're willing to take a chance on you. And so I remember we were in San Francisco with some other leaders in the organization. I think there were just 5 of us at the time, 5 or 6. And we went to an early morning breakfast, and BJ said, Rick has something to announce. So I got to announce my own elevation to CEO, which was a unique experience to say, yeah, well, there's going to be some changes, and when we go back home, I'm going to be the boss. And we started there. It may be more reasonable to expect a father to trust a child in their business, but even there, it's not that easy. A business is a very personal thing, and it's like if you had a prized vehicle and your 16-year-old wants to drive it to prom. You're like, I bet you do, but why don't you take the station wagon instead? That way, anything you or your friends put in it, I won't care about. Asking to help lead a business that your parent founds is still a big ask. So I don't know what perhaps motivated him. BJ is the bigger. I've always said I have to be incredibly grateful to her for her trust, and I think some of it was her relationship working with my dad and the type of individual he was in her life, of integrity and hard work, and was willing to take a risk that maybe the apple didn't fall too far from the tree. And but even to this day, I'm blown away at the trust that they put in us. It was incredible. The first thing was really around our leadership team and getting them in sync. And so building some structure, adding some leadership was critical. And then I remember pretty quick realizing as we were trying to have strategic discussions and getting that team in alignment one with another, identifying that the founders, I needed to go to them and say, I think we need to not have you in these meetings, which is also another big ask. But the reason wasn't they weren't a problem, but the problem was people were quick to defer to them. It was hard for me to actually lead, but it was actually hard to get the rest of the team to contribute candid thoughts and feelings. They were more comfortable, this is your company, tell us what to do, instead of thinking, well, what should we do? What expertise do I bring? And so that building the team was definitely top of mind. And for John and I, it was easy to focus early on operational items and on service and fine-tuning some of the solutions in the risk management spaces. I started in a risk management component of the company, so that was always has resonated with me. And then taking what we'd built with a workers' compensation solution and taking those principles and building out some benefit solutions. So early days was really focused there. We quickly learned we had the more difficult nut to crack was the sales engine. What could we do with the sales engine? We seemed a little stagnant there, and it created a lot of frustration early on. So that was probably 2 years in where we hit that head on and said we need to figure out how do we really change the way we approach taking our offering to market. So that was another and ended up being a pivotal time in our company. Not all secret sauce is all that secret. You find correct principles, and then it's about how well you execute them and how true you stay to them, I believe. We evaluated our compensation, and the way it was built up to that time was really, we were getting exactly what we were motivating, which was we were motivating salespeople to build a book of business and sit on it tightly. Which was, we didn't see that as we wanted a sales engine that was more focused on new business development, and then let's trust the service side of the company to care for and nurture the client. We thought that was a better model. So we addressed sales compensation to pivot to reward more business development as opposed to business management. We wanted to move to increase sales education on a consultative role, move away. During the 90s, a lot of business in our industry was about industry takeaway. It wasn't new business, new industry expansion. So how do we get out to the small business community, educate them on the value proposition, and start growing our space? Market penetration was so tiny, still relatively small for PEO, yet everybody was defaulting to the easiest business is that which has already been sold, and we just undercut the price. Well, that's a lose proposition. So we wanted to move away from that for sure. As we made those decisions, we knew it would be disruptive to our existing sales team. So we had to be confident enough to say, we're going to take the risk. What will this do? And it did exactly what I expected. I didn't want it, but within 4 months, every existing salesperson I had left. So it was just a different environment, different. It wasn't what they liked the model, which I'm not surprised by, but it wasn't helpful to the organization. So we had to start building up new sales talent immediately. And so we became aggressive at that. Created a window of time where I was more out with salespeople. I had the industry background. They were, on the phone and knocking doors, whatever it took to get an audience and get out and start growing the business again. And so we did that. Mike Burham, one of our existing salespeople today, was one of those hires, and Dave Ashby as well. They came, I think we hired them either 2000, 2001. And have stuck with us through that from that time till now. I do think sales is never an engine that you can walk away from. It is so significant to any organization. Whatever it is you're bringing to make the world a better place, if you don't have somebody who can adequately represent it, get in front of the audience you're trying to get in front of, and make those connections, you just end up going unnoticed and become what might have been. So we try not to neglect the sales engine. It's in constant review. It's a balance between not too many changes, but not being afraid to try to fine tune where we need to. So I'm very proud of our salespeople. I think they represent us well. That's important. I've talked about reputation. Reputation is important, and it begins with that first impression. The people that are out selling your organization, your solution. I want to start with the noble part of the answer because it makes me feel better. Then I'll get to the pragmatic maybe. We started as a small business. We know this journey. It's part of our DNA. And I think it's a critical part of the DNA of our country that we talk about what this idea of an American dream, what comprises that. I started thinking about some very fundamental things. The opportunity to own your own thing, whatever that is, whether it's a home or a business. And that really resonates with me. And how do we help people that are courageous enough to do that stack the odds in their favor? You look at the data on startups and how many fail and how quickly they fail. And in the PEO space, I know there's been research, just our industry is making that difference. That the data shows it's not foolproof. You start a business, there's risk. You still may hit a bump that's just too problematic. But with outsourcing to a PEO, you stack the odds in your favor. I just happen to think the best PEO is Helpside. And I'm confident with our clients, we're helping them put the odds in their favor. So that's the noble reason that I would speak to. Secondarily, there's a very practical one, which is as we look at the landscape, it's often a more ignored segment. It's easy to want to go after the I don't know if white whale applies, but the big and exciting, everybody's wants to do that. We can see an unserved need, and I think in any business, it's good time spent if you can figure out how can I do it. There's a reason that it goes unattended to. It's more difficult to get to. In fact, a lot of our vendors, they probably wouldn't service that market except for that we facilitate a much better way for them to reach them. And so we have a somewhat ignored, less served area that we can then focus our attention on and problem solve on. What is the best and most efficient way to deliver to that group? So those are the two things that really motivate us to be in that space. We have so many conversations with prospective new clients that they have a dream. They really do see how they can make a difference. And they may be two people working out of their house or garage or wherever they might be. We hear this all the time in founder stories. Where did they start? And for some reason, the garage is where they're spending a lot of time. But they start in these unassuming places with great big visions, and with big visions comes the need of more people to make that vision a reality and to make it continue. And sometimes we hear and we're like, well, maybe they're going to they have 2 today, maybe they'll have 20 next year, maybe they'll have 2 next year. And we get to see kind of how that growth and evolution goes. For some, their aspirations are you know what, it reminds me of Larry and BJ. If we get to $1 million a month in payroll, they're thinking, if I can get to service this many accounts and I have 10 employees, that would be a perfect sweet spot for me. That's nothing wrong with that vision. That's an exciting and fulfilling vision. But there are some real mountain climbers out there, and we get to be a part of that as well and see them grow, expand the market that they're in. They run into the headache, well, now I want to hire an employee in Florida for some reason, and how do I do that? Oh, magically, we already are set up and can do that for you. Yes, occasionally they get to the point where they're like, I think we're at scale and we want to take a lot of this HR infrastructure internally. We're still proud of them and help facilitate that in the most successful way possible. But it's like children. I really don't want them to leave. Template for company culture, I think there's not a one-size-fits-all template. I've seen a lot of different businesses, read about a bunch. Yeah, clearly there's more than one way and one culture that can lead to success. But I think your culture needs to be authentic, needs to be fed. And so I think about Helpside's internal culture and the idea of it being personnel. It really starts with our founders and the people that they are. They put people first. And that's something that with both of them, I had opportunities in my life to observe. They're both still here, so I'm not mourning them. It's maybe just I'm a temperamental person sometimes. I think back nostalgically and I'm grateful for things. So the founding of the company, things that they prioritize as a young, unestablished, unproven company. Benefits for their people, always a priority. It's very simple. We haven't adjusted our benefit policy in our 30, how many years? 36 years almost. The policy is pretty simple. What does the employee need? We provide the medical plan they need. If they're single, if they're two-party, if they're family, 100% premium, whatever they need. You're going to have health insurance. That's just been who we've been from the beginning. Work-life balance, to be able to make sure that there's time away and that while you're here, you shouldn't be so underwater that when you go home, you can't leave it here. Hopefully you're not underwater at all, but the idea that there needs to be true balance there. Additionally, there's a sense of community. And they started early on. We would have two events, a summer event that was for families and a winter event. It would start out as your traditional Christmas gathering. We now do a fall event because of practical reasons of timing, and it works well. But we wanted something where the employees and a significant other can come together and do something nice. So those have been around from the very beginning, and I think communicate to the people matter. We as I meet with our leaders and talk about their teams, it's not uncommon for them to share with me what's going on in an individual's life. Obviously sensitive to privacy and that, but the purpose of it is we want to make sure that we're supportive, that we know. When you're around for 35 years, you see the totality of the life journey. Unfortunately, I could put a list of people together who we've grown to love and value, who are no longer here, but we still talk about them. We still talk about the difference they made, the times we laughed at funny things. And so the idea that people matters was from our founding and in the DNA and soul of the company. Early on, we used to have a tagline, all we have to sell is service. So that is kind of the bridge I would take to the clients in the business community. They're relying on our people. Service is a very in-person experience. We survey our clients annually to, everybody wants to reply to a survey, don't they? We strive. We would love to hear from every one of our clients. We take their responses seriously. We love and take pride in the fact that they often name individuals from our team. I want them to value Helpside. That's wonderful, but I think it's fantastic when they can name somebody here, whether it's payroll or HR benefits, that made their life better. One of the things I've seen over my professional life is an evolution of what role does work have. Obviously, we all do it at least in part because we need that paycheck that keeps the world going round. But there's, I think, more than ever before, we want more out of it. We want purpose. We want contribution. We want to be a part of something that makes a difference. And as that has become more evident, I love talking to our people about making sure they know the difference that they're making. that we're at the crossroads of important moments in the lives of lots of people as they're trying to make a mortgage payment or dealing with a health crisis or an injury at work. That the more friction we can take out and make sure things are done right, you're really helping somebody. And so I'm adamant and confident our people should go to bed at night thinking what I do actually makes a difference in a positive way. So I don't know if that speaks to it, but I see everything being about people and what we do. We just try to use other solutions and technology to wrap it all together lovely. As a leader, I can see it can be really hard to let go of things. You probably, across organizational leaders, you have every flavor of person, so I don't want to pigeonhole everybody. But there might be a common, often a strong locus of control. And I occasionally have been told that I may like to retain a lot of control. and I acknowledge that. I'm the oldest of 8. It was wired into me out of the chute. If you want to survive, you better get control. And that's great. That can be actually, like most characteristics, any of our personality traits, I find, can be both an incredible strength and probably our Achilles heel at the same time. And I've seen that in myself, that if I try to control everything, it is a bottleneck for sure. It stifles creativity. It robs time from areas that need the time. So it's been critical to be able to step back, and I'm still doing it. It's not a finished product. I don't want to ever suggest that, I am doing it so good and killing it, and if you could all just get like me, wouldn't that be wonderful? No, I've had some successes, and I'm still battling through things. But to be able to say, okay, where is my time best suited? Where are my talents? Where should I exert the most control because it will have the greatest good? And then I need to have trusted relationships everywhere else. I'm not suggesting just abandon things as though they don't matter. To me, it's always about trust. So if I go back early in my professional journey, that was one of the things I started with, is evaluating our key partner vendor relationships and going, okay, why are we working with this group or this individual? And always aspiring to be with who we could identify would be the best partner, who delivers their solutions with more similar core values, reliability, integrity, reputation that's going to match up with us. I can't put myself out to my clients as a top tier solution if I am then partnering with lower tier support relationships. And so we began that way. Internally, I always want the best people to work with and feel like I've been blessed to have those. So I would say for our clients, the same thing applies. You can't do everything. You realize that. So what are you going to let go of? I would let go of the things that don't help me drive revenue and don't help me continue to increase my product or service in a way that's going to make a difference to my clients. Those things I'm not quick to let go of. But there's a lot of things that just have to be done that are critical importance. So let's find trustworthy relationships. Come back to the word reputation. What is their reputation? Then meet the people. That's where our salespeople do a great job of introducing who we are. We love bringing prospects and clients into our office and meet the people. Let's get around the table and you can talk to an HR rep or a benefits professional, a payroll provider, and feel what it's going to be like to work with them. I think that I would be I'm not ever suggesting that somebody should just offload things as though they're not important. You can be thoughtful in your evaluation of who you trust it with. So we have 4 stated values. You find that in life, as individuals, organizations, we have lots of values, but we need to be able to distill it down to just a few for it to make sense. So if it's not one of our 4 stated values, that would make me question why those are my 4 and I left this one out. Our 4 starts with integrity. And I joke as I talk to people, I don't think there's anything funny about integrity. What I think is kind of the joke is it becomes a default value. It's the kind of thing that we say, but the question is, what does it mean to you and how do you show it? Or is it just a checkbox to say, well, if I don't say we have integrity, nobody will trust me and do business. We take integrity incredibly seriously. To think, what does that mean? It's a holistic, the whole idea of integrity. Things that have integrity are whole. They're stable, reliable. They don't break easy. We can easily default to, well, you're just saying trustworthy or honest. Well, those are definitely components of it, but not everything that should be comprised. And I think of integrity, I think what happens when the heat comes? What happens when the pressure is put on you? Are you who you said you were, who you've been at that moment? And most of us, we don't aspire to those moments. We have to be crazy. I've known a few people, they tell me they pray for adversity in their lives. They're literally crazy. Life has enough adversity. I don't pray for it. But I also think some of our greatest memories and moments are when we look back on those experiences and see how we got through it, how we survived it. And if we can look back and say, and I did it as the person or the organization I said I would be. We've definitely had those moments. If you go back, like any small startup aspiring business, there are hiccups along the way. There's missteps. There's environmental things that come in. We had, you have vendors who fail. You didn't have any idea that they were going to go away. And all of a sudden you're left holding the bag and trying to figure out how are we going to fix this and not have it be a domino effect to our clients. And your P&L takes a hit for a time, but you make it work and you do it head on with your clients. Or, we went through the .NET bubble. Prior to that, I thought only the business environment was only an upward trajectory. That's all I'd seen in the 90s. That happens, you're like, oh, there's hiccups and there's tsunamis. And then we had the recession, obviously COVID, and numerous other things, big and small, that you face. And so I think having that integrity, and as I think about each of those kind of pivotal points in our timeline, I can think how integrity mattered to our team, that we knew we could rely on one another. I felt that way early in COVID. I needed to get the message to our people. I clearly don't know what this means. First pandemic in my life. Better be the last one, because I'm not putting up with another one. But not knowing what was coming in front, they needed to know that I truly believed we're going to be okay together, because we've been okay together before, and I think that proved out very well. So if I had to give one, it's probably going to have to be integrity, where we started our list. We built on that with things that I think are important, like will to succeed, which is a good marriage with integrity, because in those fiery times, you got to keep pushing forward. Humility, the idea that you don't control everything, so have the willingness to learn, to grow, and to recognize there's going to be influences outside of your control. And then stakeholder effect, that comes back to the people. You have to think about who you're impacting in everything you do. But if I have stakeholder effect, will to succeed, humility, those are great, but you take away integrity, they crumble pretty quick.